Welcome, Elaine. I'm so excited to dive into your book. It's funny because we were talking before the mics went on, and we had a very actually vulnerable conversation because you're such a good listener. And I was letting you know that so much of what you wrote about in Unlearning Silence really spoke to me based on my own experiences. So
Mm,
I know this is going to open up a lot for so many of the women who are listening today. So I'm so happy you're here.
I'm so glad to be here.
Um, Unlearning Silence. How did you come to this work? Because I imagine, I sometimes feel like we teach and write about what we are embodying and learning ourselves.
Yes.
Unpack some of that for us today.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me give you well, let me ask you, choose your own adventure. Do you want the professional, the personal, or both?
I I'll leave it to you. I mean,
Yeah,
I think the personal probably is what's going to speak the most, but it's about what your voice feels
yeah,
comfortable sharing, right? I mean, that's what we were just
totally.
talking about.
So I spent more than a decade teaching skills and tools out of the Harvard Negotiation Project. How to negotiate, how to have difficult conversations, how to give and receive feedback. Did that
Hmm.
worldwide across industries, all levels of seniority.
Okay.
And noticed that despite these being best practice, world-class tools or branded as such, some people still didn't negotiate or have the difficult conversations or give and receive feedback, which
Hmm.
begs the question, why? What gives?
Yeah.
Now, I'm also the youngest daughter of an immigrant family from Taiwan to the United States. I mention all of that because in my family and culture of origin, children are supposed to be seen and not heard.
Yeah.
Boys are more important than girls. Men are
Yes.
better, more important, more valuable than women. And to ask a question, to have a difference of opinion means to be disrespectful of your elders.
Mm.
So
And you
maybe,
internalize that from the childhood.
of course,
It was
I
in your
am,
DNA.
yes, it's how I
Yeah.
was
It's
raised.
literally how you were raised.
It's
Yeah.
literally how I was raised. It's what I
Yeah.
was rewarded for, right? I was a very obedient
Yeah.
child. I was a good kid, quote
Yeah.
unquote. It
Yeah.
served me well in school because
Yes.
teachers liked that, right? I wasn't disruptive. Here are the air quotes as I talk. It made me a really good entry level worker because I'm a team player, because I have no needs and I just serve everyone else.
Mm. You're perfect for everyone else.
For everyone else, but I'm not
Yes.
perfect for myself.
That's right.
So here I am. I'm a Harvard trained lawyer. I was the first Asian or Asian American senior faculty member on the Harvard Law Negotiation teaching team. I've got a resume with big names and things that people see as impressive. I am
Yes.
also a human being on a journey to recognizing, believing, and then choosing to use the voice that I have. But there was a lot of self-doubt, a lot of, is my worth actually just because I'm affiliated with Harvard?
Mm.
Do people only want me to keynote because I'm teaching Harvard approved concepts,
Interesting.
even if I see the gaps in them? And so unlearning silence really is, how do I fill some of the gaps that I see? Also knowing that more than 80% of leadership development books are written by white men.
And
And
I
what might
probably
be
have
missing?
some of them on my bookshelf.
We all
Yeah.
do,
Yeah. Yeah.
because it's held up as best practice of how you're supposed to succeed. And when that advice doesn't work for us, the problem must be me, not the advice.
Wow. We really do a number on ourselves, don't we? This
Totally.
is such an important conversation. It is such an, and when well, I had the author of The First, the Few, and the Only on
Yeah,
the
Deepa.
podcast, Deepa. And that was the first time I've sort of explored these things, and it brought up some emotions. And I was telling you before we started recording, your book did that for me as well, because what it does is it holds up a mirror where you go, oh yeah, I know the patterns. I've been in the dance. The older I've gotten,
Yes.
the better I've gotten at having boundaries and knowing what to say and what not to say. But there's certain areas of my life where there's still vulnerability around
Yeah.
what I feel safe sharing and not sharing
Hmm.
based on ancestry, not even something that it's literally just because of how I was born into the world, not
Yes.
because of anything about who I am, nothing other
Yeah.
than what's put on you.
Yes.
And like you said,
Yes.
boys are prized more than the girls in your culture. You're supposed to just be obedient. You're supposed to get the good grades. You're supposed to go to Harvard. You did it.
Check.
Check the boxes. You check the boxes. And then at some point, what? You said enough? Like, so how did this work come into play?
This work came into play because I thought, from a professional integrity standpoint, I can't keep teaching the things that I know there's holes or missing pieces to,
Yeah.
however
Yeah.
much money you pay me.
Yeah.
If it doesn't work for the woman in the room, the person in the room, why would I perpetuate that narrative of here's the theory that should work, and if it's not working, then it must be you? As well as we so
Yeah.
often, if women aren't getting heard, it's diagnosed by experts as you're lacking courage, you're lacking confidence, you need to
Mm.
smile more, smile less, whatever it is, versus no, we've gotten it wrong. It's not that we're not speaking up, it's not that we're not using our voices, it's that there's this thing called silence. Silence that we've learned along the way through your family, apparently, as well as my
Yes,
family.
and so many of
So
others who are
many.
listening. So we're all like, I feel like we all, so many of us have this wounding.
It's not unique to us, and it's not just us. Because when I
No.
looked around as my well-intentioned colleagues, they said all the right things, but actually their actions were silencing me.
Yeah.
And then the policies and practices that are the backdrop for our lives, like is there parental leave? Is there flexibility with work?
Yeah.
They silence us and our ability to bring forth our best ideas, gifts, skills, and talents. So it's actually not that we need to fix ourselves, it's that we need to solve for silence individually and collectively. So if we can accurately diagnose what's going on, then we have a much better shot at solving for it. But the first step is to say there's this thing called silence. It's nobody's fault. It's just, it's been baked into us. It's in your DNA. It's in how I was raised. Let's see it clearly, however painful it might be
Yeah.
and disruptive. And then we can actually do something about it, not
Yes.
only for the next generation, but also for ourselves that we might live truly the good
Mm.
life.
Mm. And I'm wondering, as you're talking, I'm like, okay, this is such an issue in the United States.
Mm.
You've done work abroad. Uh, When you have more of homogeneous cultures, is it still an issue?
Mhm.
Just different. Because I guess if the boys are prized more than the girls, then yes, right? Because in those cultures, the boys are seen as more important or like worthy than the women,
Yeah.
and then they internalize that, right? So I'd love your thoughts on that, though.
This is one of the things that is such a great privilege for me, working across geographies and cultures, and also so connecting in terms of our humanity. I was just in conversation with a Ghanaian woman this morning who said, "Oh my gosh, this is my family," right? As Ghanaians, we're really good at celebrating, but we're not good at talking about the difficult stuff. And there's these phrases in our language that say, "Don't air your dirty laundry." And I was like,
Ah,
"Oh my gosh, your Ghanaian auntie, my Taiwanese auntie," like
they'd be besties.
they would be best. And then my
They'd get each other. Yeah,
Latina
yeah.
sisters who say calladita te ves más bonita is what their abuela, their grandmother said, which roughly translates to you're prettier when you shut up.
Oh, wow. Wow, it's an actual phrase in the culture. I just got
Yes, it's a
goosebumps, but not in a good
teaching.
way.
Uh,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, 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 yeah. Like that went through me. Yeah.
The expectations of who someone is supposed to be are universal. Not that the expectations aren't that the same, but that there's a certain way that you should be that is good and right. And
Yes.
there, anything out of that very narrow box is not good or right. And therefore, we need to silence or dampen or shave off, right? Those,
Self-edit.
and then we do it to ourselves because we
Yes.
realize that gets us through life less less scathed.
Yeah. You were very acceptable with as a Harvard Law student, right? And
I'm
grad, right?
very acceptable when I
Yes.
say the things that make the people around me comfortable.
Yes.
Except, am I living for their acceptance,
Mm.
which they can always withhold and move the goalpost? Or am I living from a place of agency where I'm choosing how I live and how I measure success and meaning for myself? And I'm remembering that I, even if the options don't seem great, still have agency to choose how I show up day in and day out.
Yeah, and it's a dance. I mean, I'm older than you. I'm 54. I told you what's funny, ladies, is that Elaine found my show. She listened to a solo cast I aired, which some of you listened because I saw the download numbers, and many of you couldn't because I deleted it. I sent it to my editor. I'm like, you know what? I feel like I went on a little bit, like I felt a little bit more like I was on some rant. He said, I think it sounds empowering. I'm like, I feel like it doesn't sound like me. What does
Mm.
sounding like me sound like? I don't know. So for those of you who heard it, I don't know if you know which episode I'm talking about, send me an email. Let me know what you thought about it. But it was after I came back from Europe and I was like
Yeah.
reconnecting with a part of myself and feeling like, oh gosh, why have I put some things that are like that are core values for me aside? And that was an honest, it was just an honest, I literally hit record. I mean, I don't usually script anyway, but
Hmm.
it was free flowing. But how funny that you heard it.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, I really liked your solo cast. And I was like, oh, yeah, well, a lot of people aren't going to hear it because I took it down.
Well, and I didn't check afterwards to see if it was still there
Yeah, you wouldn't
because I
know. I've
wouldn't
never
have
really done that.
I wouldn't have assumed that you would edit that. And again, as you pointed out, what does it mean to sound like ourselves? Who are we versus the expectations of people or the personal brand that we've created? Or even if we get to be angry, we get to be frustrated, we get to be works in progress,
Yeah.
right? We get to have this like, wait, I thought this is how I was living. How did I get so far off track of what I wanted or assumed? And
Yeah.
that course correction. But if we never do that, that reflection, that awareness, to choose to live with intentionality, we're just perpetuating whatever it is, right? And the world is moving so quickly that we very well could just continue to live without that checkpoint for ourselves. So I love that you shared in a more raw way that didn't feel like all of
Me,
you all the
all of
time, but it
me.
was a
Right.
snapshot.
Exactly. It was. And it was where I
Yeah.
was that day and
Yes.
in that moment. And it was honest.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this is the dance. And I want to unpack more about how we reclaim that because it can be confusing, especially when you've received messages.
Hmm.
For me, from literally the time I entered school, the first question my kindergarten teacher asked me was, what are you? Why would you ask? How would a 4 or 5 year old know that what you're asking is what is your ancestry? All I internalized was there's something different that she's seeing. I don't understand it. I just know it doesn't feel good in my body.
Totally. I'm
Did you ever get that? What are you?
all the time,
All the time.
which also means,
All the
and there's a derivative,
time.
which is where are you from?
Yes.
California.
Yes. And when I'd say
No,
Boston, people like didn't that wasn't good enough,
no,
right? Go
where are
ahead.
you really from?
Right. That's what I would get. No, 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 no.
Yes.
Where are you
I
from?
know. I
Like
know.
I didn't hear it the first time. Where and then when I got older it was like, oh, are you asking where my ancestors are from? Because that's very different than what I am.
I am a human being,
Yes,
as are you, I
I'm a
think.
soul having a human experience. I identify first as a soul and a human, second,
Yes.
and then American, I guess, and then my ancestry. Like, there's an assumption that you even have a connection to your ancestry.
Correct.
I
Correct.
grew up here. I grew up
Yes.
very American.
You're Boston. Would you say you're Bostonian?
Yeah, I'd say probably
That means something.
Bostonian.
Yeah.
Yeah, would be Bostonian next.
Yeah.
Does that satisfy you? I
I
think most people have good intentions. That teacher
totally,
had good
totally.
intentions. And then some people don't. And that's
Yes.
when it gets like safe, unsafe. Like I had a guy come on talking about the nervous system. It's like,
Hmm.
is it safe, unsafe, safe, unsafe? He says, the brain is making
Yes.
these split-second decisions, safe, unsafe, safe,
Yes.
unsafe. So it's like sometimes it was just easier just not to say.
Yes. And that's your prerogative to choose how much to share when, how
Yeah.
much energy to put into that interaction,
Yes.
right? I think when people ask that, sure, there can be good intentions. I want to contextualize you. I want to
Yeah.
understand you. I
Yes.
want to have a mental heuristic for how you fit into the world.
Yes.
fine. That's their issue,
Yes.
right? That's their view of the world, but it has an impact on us, and we can't just judge interactions based on their good intentions or brush them away, which women are so often told. Oh, he didn't mean
Yes.
that.
Right.
Oh, she did she really say that?
Yeah.
No. And we ignore the real impact that it has on us. Your nervous system knew.
Yeah. At 4 or 5, however you
Yeah.
are when you head off to kindergarten. I mean, it was literally
Yeah.
kindergarten.
Yeah.
So I got that question most of my life. It seems to have
Mhm.
stopped now. I don't know, but you can relate to this.
I mean, someone just posted on LinkedIn the other day that we connected over, and it was exactly someone said, "What are you?" And when she said she's Korean,
Yeah.
Korean Canadian, and when she said Korean, they said, "No, you must be Japanese."
They told her she wasn't what she told
Correct.
them.
Correct. Right. The layers of dysfunction
And
run
then they
high.
corrected her. Don't ask me if you know. You think you know, so you know. Like what? It's
Mhm.
so confusing. But to
Mhm.
a child, it's very confusing. And the
Mhm.
reason I'm raising this is because it does impact what you feel comfortable, where you feel comfortable unlearning the silence
Mhm.
and where you'd just rather stay silent.
Yeah. Which I want to be really clear for listeners, unlearning silence does not mean saying everything everywhere all the time to everyone.
Yeah.
The world is far too noisy. None of us have the bandwidth or the spoons to do that.
Yeah.
Because there's also a question living from a place of agency of who do I want to share my life with? Who deserves my best thoughts, insights, expertise, energy? How do I make those choices in an intentional way rather than be reactive or
Yeah.
responding to the how the world is treating me?
Yes.
And there's so much acculturation for women in particular of I'm supposed to be available. I'm supposed to not only be available, but do it with a smile. And never mind,
Always a smile. Come
always a
on,
smile,
Elaine.
but
Must
not too
be,
much.
but not too much.
Because then we can't take you seriously and you're not leadership material.
Oh, wow. Yeah, ladies, this stuff runs deep. And it was
Yeah.
literally as an adult that I was like reflecting, like, oh, right. Not everyone's asked, what are you? You're only
Mhm.
asked if people can't place you or aren't comfortable
Yeah.
but then also there's a benefit because in a way, if you can say it and not feel shame or
Hmm.
confusion or whatever they want you to feel or they're feeling,
Yes.
then they can have an experience with your ancestral heritage that's positive because maybe what they've been told isn't,
Hmm. If you choose to share,
if you choose to
right?
share.
Just because it would benefit them, help them learn, maybe, does not
Yeah.
mean that you are responsible for their education.
Yeah.
And I
Or their
say that
comfort.
because, and their comfort because I've been asked, um, so Elaine, what is it like to be an Asian American in the United States? And I had some choice words. Like it's 20, what was it, 2023? There's this thing called Google.
Yeah.
Use it. Plenty of people have done the emotional, relational labor of trying to share that experience. I imagine it comes from a place of curiosity, and yet at the same time, I am not responsible for your education. Now, as a keynote speaker and workshop facilitator, helping leaders develop communication and conflict management skills, there are times when I do that education, particularly when I am paid to do it. But I do not want to be doing it pro bono, as a side hobby.
Also, it's just curious that somebody would feel comfortable having you
Hmm.
synthesize the experience for Asian Americans in the United States.
But Michelle, aren't all women the same?
Oh, of course. Actually, you're right. Yeah, of course. Then yes.
You've spoken with one woman, you've
Yeah,
spoken with them all, you've spoken with one
there
Asian
you go.
American, you've
You are
spoken. Yeah.
educated. You go now. Go give that
Well,
keynote.
and
Yeah.
here's this really
Yeah.
damaging aspect of the weight that I would carry around that of if I am the only woman, only Asian American, only whatever identifiable apparent, non-apparent identity I might hold in this space, right? I'm the only Asian American woman that they've ever met. If I mess up, then
Mm.
I've screwed it up for half of the world's population, gender-wise,
Yeah.
and several billion people worldwide because of a data point. And that was work I needed to do in therapy to unpack. Elaine, you're not actually responsible for that.
Mm. Did you feel it? Did
I
you feel?
did, of course. I mean, there's all this. We were talking about Deepa Purushottam's work, the first, the few, and the only, right? We're trying to trailblaze, we're trying to crack ceilings, we're trying to get a seat at the table, only to realize that you may not actually, once you're there, folks may not want to hear your voice. They just want to make
Mm.
the optics of the composition of the table look better.
Mm.
And then if you step away, have you let down everyone else? Because
Who
if you
wants
can't
that
cut
seat?
it,
Yeah.
then what does that say about my chance? I mean, it is an incredible amount of weight that is
Oof.
part of the
Feel
work for
that.
us to do,
Yeah.
right? To not hold each other up in that way, to also remember the agency to choose, do I want to stay here? Is it worth me staying here? And that an individual's inability to single-handedly change any system, any organization is not personal failure.
It's taking your agency back. I mean, that's part of why you wrote this amazing book. I want to read a few of the lines that it's throughout the book, just like three
Mhm.
different parts that I was like, I just feel like it might, these phrases may resonate, and then we can unpack sort of how to navigate,
Yeah.
when to stay silent and when it actually can serves us, when it actually serves us. You wrote, being free to say what you really think isn't a privilege everyone has. Ding, 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 ding. There is incentive for each of us to stay silent. For people with traditionally marginalized identities, using our voices can be a new, uncomfortable, and risky venture. How are you supposed to speak up when the world has repeatedly told you that you shouldn't? There is safety in self-preservation and silence. And right, after all, I knew how to make myself more palatable for other people's consumption. But along the way, I realized I was losing someone in that approach, me, my own thoughts, my own feelings, my own ideas, my own sense of being. It makes me so sad. And then you wrote, kids ask roughly 125 questions per day. Adults ask 6 questions per day, somewhere near between childhood and adult. And we silence our curiosity. And curiosity is one of my most treasured values. Like, I think curiosity is at the heart of connection and
Yeah.
reconnecting us to our humanity. So you mentioned some things that we can do, but
Hmm.
is it contextual? Let's think of it actually. Let's do it this way. Let's think, because you go into companies all the time.
Hmm.
Give us some contextual things that maybe will be more relatable to some of the women here, that isn't about ancestral stuff or whatever,
Yeah.
but where they're feeling silenced. Let's
Yeah.
shift there.
Yeah. There's this tension in workplaces where leaders, managers are saying, I want to hear what you have to say, right? Like, bring your full self to work. Again, the air quotes at work, because there's such a big asterisk there. I
Yes.
want to hear what you have to say. Tell me about problems before they arise. Most leaders I have met are well-intentioned in that way. We know that psychological safety matters. We know that the team can be greater than the sum of its parts. And yet the point of friction and frustration is very few people actually take the leaders up on that supposed offer.
Mm,
Because we've all had managers or contexts where we said something and someone shot me a look.
yeah.
They didn't even have to use words, but it was like, Michelle, what the hell did you just say? Or you're out of line. Or
Mm-hmm.
that's weird.
Mm-hmm.
And we internalize that that is a data point in our heads. And so we become more hesitant to say the thing next time, whether it's that deadline doesn't make sense, or I don't see how we have the resources,
Yes.
or that's factually incorrect, because we're preserving someone else's ego or comfort in the moment. Now, to be
Yes.
clear, I wouldn't always call someone out publicly. There's that contextual difference of, do we take it offline? Do
Right.
we do it publicly?
Yes.
Lots of different choices there.
Yeah.
Um, but there's always this question of, do I raise my hand? Do I add here? And any time that you carry a subordinated identity, meaning
Mm.
you're a woman in a male dominant environment, you are non-white in a white context, you're
Yeah.
a non-engineer amongst engineers,
Mm.
right? You're
Yeah.
in marketing when everyone else is from sales. These
Yes.
classic tensions
Oh,
in organizations.
100% sales and marketing, 100%.
Yes. And
Yes.
then don't even get me started on legal. Like,
Oh gosh. I worked
right?
in a law firm, by the way, but
Yes.
as in marketing and as head of
Oh,
marketing.
well,
I
there we
wasn't an
go.
attorney. Yeah, no. I actually had a good experience, but yes.
Right. Anytime we carry a subordinate identity, we're not part of the majority group. We are more likely to be othered,
Yeah,
more
partners
likely to be
versus
questioned.
associates. Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Attorneys versus professional staff.
Yes.
Professional staff
Yes.
even being the status giving name versus other people
Yes.
or back office,
Mm.
right? Anytime you're more likely to be questioned, othered, and left out. And so we're not making it up if and when we hesitate to lend our perspective and our voices. And the challenge is, okay, is that this context, this manager, or was it actually Dave 4 jobs ago who shot me that look?
Oh wow. Yeah, you carry it. That's the problem. You carry it. You're like it's just easier this way. But then you're
It's
really
more
harming
familiar
it's
this
more
way.
familiar, right? Because you say, yeah, that's how do you your own sense of being, how do you maintain that? Because if you're someone who's creative, or you have a lot of ideas, or you could see
Mhm.
how things could be a different way, you want to add value, you want to grow within the organization,
Yeah.
all that stuff makes you probably want to go look for another job.
If you even remember that that's an option.
Oh wow.
Because how
Yeah.
many of us modulate to say, look, I
Yeah.
at least it pays the bills. I've got enough flexibility to figure out the childcare. They routinely let me leave at 3:30. I'm not sure I couldn't get this anywhere else.
You
Right? We've
start limiting
negotiated
yourself.
ourselves out of that
Yeah.
before we even remember that it could be in part as a coping mechanism, right? Because we wouldn't say, "Oh my gosh, I've lowered my expectations so much. It's look how
Yes.
good I have it." And
Yes.
then we get this layered on with gratitude. I should write about this in my gratitude journal, right? I'm not knocking that. I'm saying you can be grateful and you can be
Oh my
not
God, we
okay with
gaslight
inequity.
ourselves. We gaslight. Yeah, I should be writing this in my gratitude journal. That is funny, but not funny, right? I mean, come on, you're right. We do
So
this.
that's work though. And
That's
then we go
work.
home.
Yes.
And the example of Patricia in my book of this
Yes.
high-powered woman who actually does it all, but everyone else takes credit. That is based on so many women that I've worked with, that I have coached,
100%.
right? Because
Yes.
at home, it's these standards that we have for ourselves. Did I make a homemade dinner versus takeout again? Did I show up for soccer practice? Was I there for the school play? Is my house clean? No one asks a man if their house is clean.
Or
Or
who's watching the kids when you're on a business trip?
correct,
Who's with the
correct,
kids? How are you here
correct.
for a week? Yeah, nobody's
So,
asking.
how is there any room in that dynamic at work or at home, professional and personal, for ourselves? For the things we really care about? I mean, there's so much written about self-care.
Yeah.
And if the system and dynamics are not caring for us or accounting for us,
Yeah.
then the least we can do is at least account for ourselves, care for
Yes.
ourselves, as well as build a team around us, right? Who we
Yes.
listen to, whose books we read, whose podcasts we consume, what video, what reels, all of that shapes how we see the world and can either support us
Yeah.
in living, designing our lives and acting with agency,
Yes.
or it can continue to perpetuate that message that we're not enough and we're not okay and we're if we could only fill in the blank, then we might be
Acceptable enough
successful,
for
happy,
successful. Yeah.
acceptable. Yeah.
It's so deep and it's so the things it's so real. And I guess let's get a little tactical. So let's say somebody is in one of these situations professionally. Give us some grounding, some structure around like how to approach like somebody's going, yeah, that's me. That's me
Yeah.
at work. They say
Yeah.
they want my ideas. I'm like feeling kind of devalued or like not as excited about the work because I don't feel like I have
Hmm.
a voice here.
Hmm. First, play to your strengths. So, in workplaces, there's so often a very narrow definition of leadership and effective communication. Sounds a little bit like 3 succinct bullet points, no ums, just the right amount of emotion to show that you care, but not too much, because then, particularly if you're a woman, people won't take you seriously.
I
Right? How
hate to
many of
laugh,
us?
but it's so true.
It's so true. And by the way, have a deck with not too much text and be pithy.
Right. Yeah.
Human beings for all of time have not communicated in that narrow way,
No.
right? Have emotion and passion and hesitation and worry and nuance to them. Emotions are data, information that we need to solve for about how team members, colleagues are actually feeling. I say that because each of us are wired differently, and I parse it out more in the book. Some of us communicate more effectively, share ideas more effectively by typing than by talking.
True.
Some of us more, it's easier to communicate asynchronously rather than real time. Some of us video on, video off if we're on a Zoom call. Some of
Mm.
us, the video is distracting, so we prefer to be on the phone, right? What actually allows you to show up best? The other things, these other modes and mediums are barriers, unintentional barriers to communication. And so the challenge I often offer is a design challenge to take a standing meeting and say, how might we optimize this for voice? What could we do to make it easier for me to show up? Now, I've saved my favorite for last, which is the difference between real-time processors and post-processors.
Yes.
So if anyone's ever sat in a meeting, you can't quite figure out what to say, people are like, anyone else have anything to add? And you're like, nope. The well-intentioned, do you have any questions? But we're already over time, so of course you're not going to ask,
So,
right?
yeah.
Okay, but then 20 minutes after you've clicked out of the meeting, you're like, oh, that's what I would have said. And then you're
Mm.
stuck with the choice of, but the meeting's over. Do I call them? Do I reply all? Do I Slack them? Do I text them? Do I message? Oh, it's too many choices. And
Yeah.
so it is easier to just let it go, right? And we do the self-talk of, it's not that important. Except your idea could actually be the game changer. Your idea is a piece of the puzzle. And our responsibility and opportunity is how can we give, if we're not the decision maker, how do we at least provide accurate data rather than a skewed data set because it's
Yes.
missing us and missing our perspective? So if it is easier for you to type than talk, post-process than real-time process, how do we design the way that we work? First of all, maybe it's not a meeting. That
Yeah.
GIF, the meeting, the a meeting could have been an email, exists for a reason, right?
Yes.
But it's also anyone who's facilitating a meeting saying, hey, here's where I think we're headed. Everyone post-process, sleep on it. As things come up, as you post-process, reply all on the initial email thread,
That's so
right?
good.
You've done a couple of things. You've normalized that we post-process. It's not a weakness, it's wiring.
No, correct.
And this is Kahneman's work on slow thinking and fast thinking, right? If we need a white male source. So, so,
To make it
and
valid. Yeah. Okay.
just,
I'm joking.
no,
Yeah.
I know, I'm joking too,
Yeah, I know
except
you are.
it's true.
It's true. Yeah.
In perception. And then the
Yes.
other is there's so much invisible labor that goes into deciding, am I supposed to reply all? Am I supposed to just write to this person? I don't want to flood people's inboxes.
Totally.
Oh, wait, am I supposed to text? There's so many mediums. We get lost in the decision making and frankly, the weight of that labor that inclines us towards silence
Mm,
versus the leader facilitator or having a norm of you reply all, you don't have to do the second guessing, right? We do the second guessing
set
because we're
the
caring,
expectations.
compassionate people,
Yes. Of course. You don't want to
right?
step on toes. They said the
Yes.
meeting was over. I had my opportunity. I'm the one that processes slower. It's on me. No, no. A
And
lot
you,
of
you
people do. Yeah.
and slower isn't bad, slower is
No,
different.
it's just different. And actually,
Yes.
you mentioned in the book that there were times where you're like there was a text or something where you realize you silenced somebody, but you,
Totally.
because of who you are, you realize that. When I got trained in
Mm,
Myers-Briggs later, I
mm,
looked back was and thought back on my team, and I'm like, oh, for anyone who processes differently than me, or maybe
yes.
because the majority might be the extroverts in the
Yep.
room, did I leave an opportunity for that person to weigh in, just like what you're saying?
Hmm.
I had a small team. We had a good relationship. I hope that they would say, hey, and come to me. I would, but also maybe I silenced somebody
Hmm.
unknowingly, which feels horrible to think about, but it's just real.
It feels horrible to think about, and it is real. And
Yeah.
not thinking about it doesn't make it go away.
Right. No. And that's the thing. You were aware, and then you can address it. You can say, hey,
Yes. let's
Yeah.
also be clear that example that you're talking about from the book.
Yes.
I, so for listeners who haven't read the book, a junior member of our team asked a question and I responded with what I thought was the company line. In
Yeah.
retrospect, it sounded a bit like toxic positivity. And some of that was that my voice, or had I internalized what I thought I was supposed to say as a
Yeah.
representative of this company, which is the what do I think? Not what does my manager think, but not what does my mom think? Not what am I supposed to say, but what do I actually think? And remembering to do that internal work of finding your own voice by asking, what do I think? And what do I
Yes.
need? Not
Yes.
just puppeteering and regurgitating and mimicking what you've heard.
Yes.
And um, felt horrible about it because someone had taken the risk to ask a question and I shot it down. I didn't mean to shoot it down. And you're giving me more credit than I think I deserve, maybe because we're harder on ourselves than we
I
are on
didn't think
anyone
it was that
else.
bad when I read it in the book. Maybe
Well,
that's why. So,
it
but I don't
was,
know the context or the
you,
company, but I was like, gosh,
and
yeah.
it took me, I don't remember, at least 2 years to circle back to her,
Oh, interesting.
right? To
Okay.
apologize
Were you
because
aware in the moment or not?
I was not aware in the moment. I was also trying to be responsive. It was a
And
weekend. I
you
was
also
walking
were
back
a
from the
senior
grocery
person.
store.
You do have a responsibility. It's understandable,
It's understandable, and I could do better.
but you do. And not
And
everyone does.
yes, and it was a couple years, and I was like, hey, do you remember that conversation? And of course she did.
She did.
Of course she did.
Yeah.
Right? We very viscerally, just like the 16-year-old you or the 4-year-old you, remember those moments when
Yeah.
you're shut down,
Yeah.
even if other people don't intend. And I said, hey, that I realize in retrospect, um, I really shut you down and I'm sorry.
It's beautiful
It
though.
was beautiful. And she received it and was so gracious about it. And
She's probably like, wow.
it was relational repair. I share that though, because relationships and life are not made up in single moments.
Right.
They're not defined by certain moments. There's always the question of what's your next step,
Yeah.
right? Even if it takes you a couple of years, even if they don't respond, there is how do I want to show up in this world? Our voice is fundamentally how are we moving through the world,
Mm,
right? And I want to move in a world where people own their actions and apologize for the things that have negative impacts, even if I didn't mean it.
totally.
It still shut her down. It still caused a scar. The least I
Mm,
can do is own it
yeah.
and apologize and do better.
100%. 100%. I think that's so beautiful. And also it creates a ripple effect
Hmm.
because now she is modeling because maybe she wouldn't know to do that because to approach it 2 years later also takes a lot of courage. So you have to give yourself credit for that
Yeah.
because you're now literally like opening up like a scar. You're like,
Oh,
let's so
totally.
yeah, yeah. We're just
Totally.
gonna get in there. You know what I
Yes.
mean? So like that takes a lot of courage.
Yeah. And when we think about it, maybe not in the workplace, but certainly at home, right? I think about the things I would want to make sure that I don't leave unsaid.
100%. I was joking with my husband and daughter that even if I don't do everything right, I'm very quick to say when I have made a mistake.
Yeah.
Like I'm not so too proud
Yeah.
to say, you know what? I was so wrong, or
Hmm.
that was not okay. Or it doesn't mean I'm perfect in every moment. It just means
Yeah.
that I can own my stuff.
Okay, so I love that because here's my question. Would your
Yeah.
parents and the generations before you have done that? Owned and apologized?
That's a good question. I think, okay, here's how I think of it because I've had some interesting conversations. Like uh, recently, my dad needed to take some medicine for some test, and I read the stuff and I like reacted really like out of worry. And I was
Mm.
like, the next day he said, thanks for caring enough to like read and whatever, but next time, could you tell me without so much like intensity? And I was like, hey, dad, you know what? I'm realizing like I wore a back brace for 6 years and like I couldn't breathe. I have this like high sense of like hypervigilance. And when it's somebody I care about, I'm learning that I have an overreaction to things
Mm.
that I see as a danger to somebody I love.
Yeah.
And I'm so sorry. He said, I didn't know that. Thank you for telling me.
Yes.
So there's the
Yes.
repair there in the moment.
Yes.
But no, I don't. I think, or if I said, let's say to my parents, like, hey, you remember that time that
Hmm.
really hurt me?
Mm.
I think they could take it now in their eight, and be able to.
Yeah.
Would they have been able to in their 60s? I don't know, maybe not.
Yeah.
Or if their rain barrel, whatever, was too full, like that might
Yeah.
have been a tipping point they couldn't manage. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I do feel like now there's
Yeah.
these opportunities that didn't maybe exist.
Totally. So, I mean,
Do
this
you
to
agree
me
with
is,
that? What do you think?
I always ask the question. I'm grateful for you sharing because there's a question of generational silence, right? We started by talking about the things passed down,
Yes.
including do we own our actions? Do parents ever apologize to children?
Mm,
And that I've seen different norms over generations. And to
yeah.
me, the opportunity is that we get to choose. We get to choose what we keep going from our ancestors that have passed on that we appreciate and want to perpetuate. And we
Yes.
also get to choose different actions like, it's taken my parents several decades to apologize to me. That's not something that we would have done. That's not something that was ever modeled to them.
Totally.
Right. And also your disclosure of, hey, here's some context. Let me contextualize my reaction.
Yeah.
This is also the argument for sharing rather than silencing, right? Because people
Yeah.
can't actually read our minds, read our reactions all the time. And him knowing that this is why it comes out strong or forcefully or with
Yeah.
power
Yeah.
actually helps him interpret the care more than
Yes.
if you didn't say anything or you didn't even engage on that, right? That's the
Right.
opportunity of building intimacy and understanding.
Yeah. It's kind of, I got a little emotional when you were talking about your parents, because so part of it is they're carrying, and I think is it in our epigenetics? Like, is it in our
Mhm.
DNA where they're carrying the legacy of, like,
Yep.
think of the generations, and every
Yes.
generation is trying to do better.
Yes.
So
Yes.
you weren't born here, but I'm still first generation on my mother's side, even though I was born here. I think technically
Yeah.
that's still first generation, right? So I feel like we're that generation that creates a new bridge and a new
Yes.
pathway. So our children don't have that, and we have more of that um, rupture and repair scenarios
Yeah.
in the moment, and it's less of that is passed on. Like I feel like we're doing some healing, which I
Hmm.
think also heals the ancestry.
Hmm.
And so now that your parents know, really what they're saying is, I need you to be safe.
Yes.
I need to know you're going to be okay. So I'm
Yes.
going to instill what I was told is the
Yeah.
path to safety and a better
Totally.
life, because that's all I want for you.
Yeah.
Right?
And do we listen for the things that people are really saying rather than just what's on the surface? Because that's
It's all they
translation
knew. It's
work.
what they
I
knew. I'm just
know.
saying. So the fact that, like, now that they're
Totally.
older and they're like
Totally.
softening, it's
Yeah.
because they see you're okay.
Yeah.
You're more
Yeah.
than okay.
And we've had really explicit conversations,
Yeah.
right? When
And
I,
how
I
have they
went,
received it? Do you mind me asking?
it's been a process, right?
Yeah.
I went to Harvard Law School. I was living the American dream. We did the check earlier in this conversation,
Literally.
right?
Yeah. Check the
Became
boxes.
Harvard Law School
Many boxes to
faculty.
get there.
Check, check,
Check,
check.
check, and check.
You've made it, right? Financial stability, status, all of that. And I'm saying, yes, and there's still this part of just because you've got a seat at the table doesn't mean that your voice is welcome,
Yeah.
doesn't mean that in an environment where I'm able to act with the integrity that I want to live with. And I can make I feel like I can take different risks because of the sacrifices you made,
Mm.
right? I'm not just at survival level anymore. I have an incredible amount of privilege as someone who went to school in these ways, have had different experiences around the world. I
Yes.
want to use that for good,
Yeah.
right? And it took them a while because I think that concern of can you pay your bills? Are you going to be okay? Are you going to be safe?
Safety, yeah. Safety as in not even physical, right? We're talking like financially safe. Like
Yes.
you're okay. If,
Yeah.
when we're gone, you're going to be okay.
Right. Right.
It's literally, right?
It
That's
is. It
yeah,
is. And it is also whose life are you living? Because
right.
if we're different people, we also have different risk tolerances than our parents or our loved ones might have for us.
Yeah.
And are we choosing to live by their risk tolerances or by our risk tolerances?
Yeah.
The things we value or the things they value if they're not aligned. And so
Yes.
often, because we care and we are solving for everyone else in our life but ourselves, we lose that sense of self, that there is a uniqueness to you of things you care about. And if I can leave listeners with anything, it would be, and you matter too,
Yeah.
right? Your needs, goals, hopes, concerns, you matter. We have needs not because we're needy, but because we're human, and you matter too. So let's factor each of ourselves in
Yeah.
because the world and the people around us will continue to silence us, not because they're ill-intentioned or mean to, but because that's so much of how the world has been structured, right? There's this great quote by a sociologist that the United States doesn't have a social safety net, it has women.
Oh,
I think it's Jessica Kalarka.
I love
I
it.
mean, it's rough
Yeah.
and it's
And
true.
it's true.
And so how do we factor ourselves in too?
And how do we add ourselves back into? Well, I literally could do like a part two and part three with you, and maybe we should. But is there anything that I didn't ask, though, that you do want to make sure the women take away with how to approach, like just something they can play with from the time they finish listening to this conversation?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things very tactically. Number
Please.
one is if you're not sure what your voice is because it's been so buried under, what's the company line? What does my mother think? What would Bestie think? Start with some internal work, right? Of asking those questions. What do I think? What do I need as you're listening to the podcast? That's a way of cultivating your sense of self, that you have a reaction, you have an insight of your own. I think the other is to really own your perspective from where I sit. From where I sit, that doesn't make sense. It doesn't mean that
Well,
I see everything. From where I sit also begs the question very naturally, what does it look like from where you sit? So I know so many of us have been acculturated to worry of, am I overstepping? Am I ignoring them? Am I not leaving room for them? That's great. And let's balance that with you matter too. Your point of view from where you sit matters too.
and do you use that
So
language? Because I like that. You
from where
say
I
that,
sit,
right? From where
totally.
I sit. I love that. That's
Yeah, from where I
powerful.
sit in marketing, I'm not sure about the strategic decision. What does it look like from where you sit in finance? Which is
Mm.
what's on your mind? What are the factors, right?
It's
But we
not
have
dictating, it's saying open and allowing a conversation. I didn't mean to interrupt,
no,
please.
it's also me owning though that I have a point of view.
Yeah.
I have a vantage point on this world. I have expertise to offer. It is just as valid, it is just as legitimate and limited as your point of view. But
Yeah.
together we'll put together the pieces of the puzzle. So if you're looking sort of for an interjection or how to get into the conversation, which can be a hard moment from where I sit, is one. Or depending on the context, I see it differently. Again, our conversation, that difference isn't bad. It's just I see it differently and describe how you see it differently because you will, right? No one can see the world the way you do. No one can be you but you. And we need each of us.
100%. You have no idea how much I've loved this conversation. Ladies, what's so funny is right before I went to record with Elaine, I inadvertently muted myself. I shut my mic off. I've done this interview series for 6 years. I've never muted myself. And we were joking a little bit. I mean, it was sort of funny, but not right. Like
Yeah.
here I am muting myself, and pay attention to where you're doing that. Doesn't mean you have to share, like Elaine said. See where you find yourself wanting to share, but are afraid to share.
Mm-hmm.
And right, there's questions in the book
Mm-hmm.
where you can play with and go deeper, and just so you can know yourself better and
Yeah.
understand where I sit, this is what's happening to me. Like have
Yes.
that conversation with yourself. From where I sit, this is what I'm
Yes.
feeling in my body. This is what's happening. And then you'll have the discernment to know how to move forward. If people want to pick up your book, Unlearning Silence, How to Speak Your Mind, Unleash Talent, and Live More Fully, or connect with you on social, like where do you like to hang out?
I'm hanging out on LinkedIn.
LinkedIn.
I also have a free monthly newsletter available on elainelinhering.com. But really, I love what you're saying of let us know ourselves because knowing ourselves is the only way that other people can also get to know us, that other people are best able to support us, right? And fundamentally, the opportunity that they might be able to love us as we are.
100%. I love the work you're doing. I've loved this conversation. I think it's such an important one. Not had it on the show. Like I
Hmm.
said, you're welcome back anytime because I think there's so much to unpack here.
Hmm.
And I think it's going to be so relatable. And ladies, as you know, all of the show notes are on your podcast player. There'll be links to Elaine's website, her book, If you want, I could throw your LinkedIn there. I don't know.
Amazing. Yeah.
You can follow Elaine's work on LinkedIn. I'll be sure to do that myself. And thank you for being here today. You've opened something in my heart today that I needed to look at, and from having read your book. And for that too, I'm so grateful for all of this. Super, super grateful. Such a
Thanks for
pleasure.
having me.
Thank you so much.